Welcome back, everyone. If you've ever found yourself daydreaming about trading your office chair for a wetsuit to become a professional commercial diver, you already know it's about a whole lot more than just learning how to breathe underwater, right? I mean, it's a seriously demanding, high-hazard career. And before you even touch a regulator for your training, you've got to prove your body can actually handle the strain. Okay, let's dive into this, because today we're unpacking the rigorous medical examination process required by the Health and Safety Executive, or HSE, to become a certified working diver. Do you really have what it takes? Well, the official HSE MA1 guidance document is basically the ultimate rulebook for answering that question. It lays out the strict and, frankly, totally unforgiving physical and medical requirements you have to meet. This document dictates exactly how doctors assess your fitness for the intense physiological demands of working in a hyperbaric environment. So just to be clear, this isn't your standard run-of-the-mill annual checkup. It's a comprehensive top-to-bottom audit of your body's ability to survive and actually work in extreme conditions.
So here is our dive plan for this explainer. We're going to map out your journey from the initial application all the way to final certification. We'll briefly cover the high-pressure environment, the vital paperwork, those grueling physical tests, the absolute medical deal breakers, and finally, what your fitness certificate actually means for you. All right, Section 1, taking the plunge and the high-pressure environment. Commercial diving is absolutely a safety-critical activity. You kind of have to think of your body as a pressure vessel. When you descend, the physical laws of the universe are acting on you in some pretty extreme ways. So you must be capable of performing heavy physical labor and, critically, responding to underwater emergencies without missing a beat.
Now, because the stakes are literally life and death, your journey actually kicks off on dry land, moving to Section 2, paperwork and first steps.
The very first practical step you'll take as an applicant is pure admin. Step 1, download the HSE Medical Questionnaire. Step 2, fill it out honestly. But Step 3 is the kicker. You've got to get your regular General Practitioner, your GP, to countersign it. Why involve your GP? Well, because they have your entire medical history. They need to verify that you haven't, conveniently forgotten to mention anything. And this is entirely by design. It's meant to catch any obvious disqualifying conditions right out of the gate, saving you the serious time and money of a full medical exam if something in your history already prevents you from diving. Once that paperwork is all signed and sorted, you take it to an AMID. That stands for Approved Medical Examiner of Divers. Now, you can't just stroll into any local clinic for this. An AMID is a doctor with highly specialized training in diving medicine, physiology, and pathophysiology. They are literally the ultimate gatekeepers to your new career. They'll review your questionnaire, and if everything looks good, they'll conduct your comprehensive initial medical examination. So the paperwork is done, the AMED has reviewed your history, but now comes the real moment of truth. Are you physically ready for the grueling demands of the water? Because, honestly, the physical testing phase is where a lot of applicants suddenly realize just how intense this job really is. Which brings us to Section 3, passing the physical test. Let's look closely at your cardiovascular demands. 10. That is the maximum number of minutes you're going to spend on the Chester step test. Picture this. You're stepping up and down on a 30-centimeter step to the beat of an audio track. And every 2 minutes, that pace gets faster. You'll be strapped to a heart monitor, and you just keep going until you hit 80% of your max heart rate, or you report vigorous exertion and just can't keep up. It sounds super simple, right? But those 10 minutes are a highly calibrated, scientifically backed way to measure your aerobic capacity. What the AMAT is actually hunting for with that step test is your VO2 max. That's the maximum rate your body can consume oxygen while you're exercising. And why does this matter so much? Well, imagine things go sideways underwater. You might have to execute a self-rescue or even haul an unconscious diver all the way to the surface. You absolutely need a massive reserve of cardiorespiratory fitness to survive a scenario like that. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is just how strict these numeric cutoffs are. Look at this. If your VO2 max is greater than 44, awesome. You're generally considered fit for a standard 12-month certificate. But if you score less than 40, you are unfit, period. End of story. Now, if you fall into that 40 to 44 range, you're in a bit of a gray area. You might get a short duration certificate, or you might only be cleared for less demanding jobs, like, say, working in an aquarium instead of doing heavy offshore construction. Okay, so we've got the physical fitness part down. But what happens if your body isn't perfect? What if you have some underlying medical condition? Let's take a look at how the AMED evaluates your specific bodily systems. Section 4, Navigating Medical Deal Breakers. Keep in mind, when you're under pressure, your bodily systems have to function flawlessly. There is absolutely zero room for error when you're working at depth.
So, naturally, there are absolute deal breakers that will immediately disqualify you from commercial diving. For instance, symptomatic ischemic heart disease, totally incompatible with the job. Active asthma that requires high doses of medication is a strict no-go because of the risk of exercise-induced bronchoconstriction. Any form of seizure activity is obviously a massive red flag. Losing consciousness underwater is fatal. Even things like severe motion sickness or uncontrolled sleep apnea will stop your application dead in its tracks.
But there's a really critical difference between a temporary pause in your career and a permanent end to it. Say you get a mild head injury, where you are unconscious for less than 30 minutes. That just makes you temporarily unfit for about 4 weeks. Or an active middle ear infection. You just wait until it clears up. However, conditions like symptomatic schizophrenia or an active peptic ulcer disease, those are permanent disqualifications. The risk of sudden incapacitation, whether from a psychological break or internal bleeding, is simply way too high to risk it. And it's not just internal diseases either. The AMED is also going to measure your body mass index and your waist circumference. If your BMI is 35 or higher and your waist is over 102 centimeters for men or 88 centimeters for women, you're usually going straight to an unfit certificate. And guys, this isn't about aesthetics at all. It is pure practical safety. Excessive abdominal fat can actually prevent you from fitting into your diving equipment properly, plus it can make it impossible to access tight confined spaces or be rescued from them. Not to mention, it indicates a much higher risk for heart disease and type 2 diabetes. All right, let's assume you've navigated all of that successfully. Your VO2 max is fantastic, your BMI is in check, and your medical history is completely clear. That brings us to Section 5, your fitness certificate and the final verdict. At the end of the whole exam, the AMED hands you an MA2 form. So the crucial point is really understanding your result here. There are 3 possible outcomes. Outcome 1, fit to dive. This is the golden ticket, but pay attention, it's only valid for up to 12 months. Outcome 2, fit to dive with restrictions. This means you can work, but the doctor might cap how deep you can go, how long you can dive, or the specific type of diving you're allowed to do. And outcome 3, unfit to dive. If you do get this one, it's really important to know you have a legal right to appeal that decision to the HSE within 28 days. But listen, even if you walk out of that office holding that fit to dive certificate, your responsibility doesn't just stop there. Read this quote from the regulations really carefully with me. An individual must not dive if they know of anything which makes them unfit. That piece of paper is definitely not a free pass for the next 365 days. If you catch a nasty chest cold, if you get a concussion over the weekend, or if you develop an ear block, you have an ongoing legal duty to self-assess your health every single day before you step foot in the water. We've covered the cardiovascular requirements, the respiratory strictness, and the absolute necessity of physical perfection under pressure. The HSE MA1 Medical sets the physical baseline to ensure you can survive the bodily toll of the job. But as you look towards starting this incredible career, it begs one final vital question. Your body might be totally cleared, but are you ready to handle the psychological pressure of the deep? We'll leave you to think on that. Thanks so much for joining us to unpack the Professional Diver's Medical Guide, and we'll catch you in the next explainer.